Hello and welcome to the Forged Alliance Forever Community Cast Library Series. In today's episode we have two matches. However, before we go into the matches, I just want to reiterate that I am in need of replays, guys. This is the last episode of replays I have at the moment, so if you want to see more of this Forged Alliance Forever format, then you need to get clicking and send me in your awesome replays. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to go back to the Sloth Diary thing, and we all know that this is way better. Okay? Right, guys, take care, enjoy, and thank you. Hello and welcome to some 1v1 mono action on the map Forbidden Pass. It is your friendly neighborhood Sloth here, and thank you very much for joining me. Let's take a look at the players. In the blue corner, weighing in at 1600, going Master Race Cybran, it's Death Squad. And in the red corner, playing in red as Aeon, weighing in at a savage 1900, it's Heaven. Heaven opening first land, second air, and Death Squad opening first land and 3 P-gens. Nothing like planning ahead. Death getting his first engineer out, going straight to... No, that's his Mantis. His engineer just going for some true reclaim. Quite an aggressive start here from Death. He's got 2 early Mantis out, already flanking around this ZZ. I would say ZZ, depending on whether you're American or British. I accommodate everyone here as best as I can. Flanking around the water's edge. I get a feeling that the very races themselves here are going to dictate the way the early raids and exchanges progress. Death, having no early hover, will of course be having to flank around the edges. Heaven, being Aeon, will be able to go straight across, as we are seeing now. God, I'm good at this. So the 2 early Mantis from Death Squad there, nearly reaching their targets, just queued up to the edge of where you would see engineers expand to. And if you can look here, we've got a... oh, he's changed it. I can't talk about it now because he's changed it. Never mind. We have early scouts out from both players, and Heaven following that up with some interceptors. Death not making any interceptors as of yet. Death went to second air, third land, and Heaven did the same. Slight difference between the builds here. Heaven electing to go single mass extractor adjacency on each T1 factory. Whereas if we take a look at Death selected to go double adjacency on his land factories. I do not know about these things, being a meager 1000 player. I never really do adjacency. That's probably why I'm a 1000. So we have an early bomber out from Heaven. I say early, it's not really that early for a T1 bomber. And it's just picking up a T1 engineer kill. That's what it lives on. It's its only kill for now. And it's now moving forward once again, taking out a radar. And does it spot another engineer? Yes, it does. Going in for 2 engineers on that one, and this T1 bomber now up to 4 kills with no reply. Death Squad finally getting some interceptors out over it, but Heaven supporting with more interceptors, and the bomber finally goes down. And we've got raiding parties coming up the central passage of water, just being camped out by Death Squad's units here, and Death Squad himself sending a raiding party to the bottom expansion area, to these 4 mexes, to clear it out. Very predictable expansion area given that it's got 4 mexes. Heaven with his ACU shacking up in this little geological feature here, starting to get a secondary base up and running. Death Squad just bringing some units to the edge of where that is. He probably knows it's there. He knows it's there. He also probably knows that Heaven's ACU is out, hence why he's not pushed in with what little he had there. So Heaven now cutting up the right hand side behind the advanced units of Death Squad. We've got 3 Auroras in behind now, just taking out an engineer, a Mantis, now getting to work on a Mex point. Death Squad having to bring back his units from the front lines to deal with this now, and on the left hand side we have a little push from Death Squad with some of his own Mantis. But on the right side, these Aurora are still going strong. Got a few bits and bobs to their name now. A couple of engineers, radar, mass extractor, some Mantis, and not pushing up to this top Mex point. I think Heaven must be elsewhere with his micro. Understandable. We do have a push coming in from both sides of Heaven's core area. And Death Squad's just using the 3 Mantis he's got at the bottom just to take out some engineers. And on the northern side of Heaven's base, Heaven just pushing out with a few Aurora and a T1 Scout just to stop that incursion. Death Squad mirroring the tactic, it's a very common tactic, of shacking up his ACU in this, again, geological formation that's basically the opposite of Heaven's position. And Death getting some spam there going now from 4 factories. Heaven still with 2 factories in his position. So if we just take a look at the eco in these early stages, and Heaven is way ahead on 39 mass per tick. Death on measly 27. And if we take a look at the power stakes, Death is outstripping Heaven on power income at 720. Heaven is at 580. So that's quite interesting. How are both economies coping? Well, Death looks like he's pretty solid. If we take a look at Heaven. So Heaven not having power troubles, despite the fact that he's producing less power than Death Squad. Death Squad producing less mass than Heaven, but both are still managing to use the mass that they're generating, although Heaven is starting to just rack up some surplus supply right now. And if we look on the left hand side, we got a more committed push from Death Squad now as he throws some Mantis headlong into a group of Aurora which were not microed, so the Mantis coming out on top there. And on the right hand side, Heaven pushing forward with some more T1 units, and Death Squad is either countering that push or he was actually pushing himself and just came across him by accident. But now he's seen him and now he's rediverting him just to mop up the last few remaining units. And in the air game now, Death Squad with a superior force of interceptors. However, Death Squad still at T1 air, whereas Mirror is transitioned to T2 and does have some T2 units on the field in the form of 2 Swiftwinds and 2 Spectres, T2 gunships. Death Squad now just diverting his horde of interceptors to try and take out this gunship when he's spotted. He's taken out one of the Swiftwinds. He's got another Spectre on the right hand side of the map harassing his push of T1 units here. And having taken out that Spectre on the left hand side, Death now pushing his interceptors over middle to support his anti-airless T1 unit mix. And And there goes the T2 gunship. The T1 bomber shortly will follow suit. And on the left side now, Death Squad pushing down with some Mantis. Some Medusa mixed in as well with a solitary anti-air unit. Sky Slammer going to work on that Spectre. And predictably, the Sky Slammer perishing in a 1v1 situation. But in come the Interceptor Horde from Death Squad, taking out the Swiftwind and T2 gunship. And Death Squad now, if we just look at the map control, it looks a little bit more commanding from Death Squad at the moment. Death Squad also cutting into Heaven's expansion area here on the top left hand side, where Heaven is not being able to do that on the opposite side of the map. So we should see, we aren't seeing it right now. Oh, we are, there we go. So mass income is now level. That spike that Heaven was just on was probably reclaim related. So right now, mass income pretty even. We see Death on a spike right now. It's probably due to reclaim. And if we look on the right hand side now, we've got another push from Death Squad headlong into the Aurora. And this secondary group here isn't even going to bother supporting that group. It's just on a walk down. Heaven continuing to produce T2 gunships with little air support in the form of Swiftwinds. What little Swiftwinds Heaven does have are being quickly dealt with by Death Squad's interceptors. And Death Squad now setting his sights on this secondary expansion area here of Heaven, pincering it from both sides. And Heaven pulling his units back off the front line to try and catch up with one of the pincer movements, but then Death Squad coming in from the top with a tertiary push just forming up here. Death Squad well and truly with map control right now, and has achieved it with without tacking really. He's now at T2 air, way behind on Heaven's T2 air. You probably say that Heaven went T2 air too early. Both players electing to remain at T1 land for the time being. And that pincer movement on this expansion area of Heaven is all but destroyed now. Heaven getting some units in to mop up the attacking party, but the mission is already complete. Just a solitary T1 land factory remaining for Heaven in that area. And Heaven trying to counter push now to the north, but Death Squad with a far superior number of units there. And let's not forget, it's Mantis against Aurora, so as soon as Death Squad shoves those in, the Aurora with their paper thin HP ain't gonna last long. And we've just got a few Jesters now being stashed at the back of Death Squad's base, just keeping them close to his chest for the time being. Heaven still with his ACU front and center, getting a Oblivion turret up, a second Oblivion turret up, just to try and protect his last remaining expansion base to the spam of Mantis. And Heaven apparently successful in just shooing away the push there from Death Squad, but things are starting to look ominous now. And we also have some Renegades, T2 gunships for Death Squad, joining the number of Jesters already stashed there. And we have a drop at the back from Heaven. I think it was a drop. Maybe it wasn't. I don't see a transport anywhere. Not quite sure how he managed to get those units there, but it's a good move by Heaven. and he's taking out this expansion area to the left hand side of Death Squad, which is something that he sorely needs to do to try and grapple back some map control. And we do see a drop coming in now from Heaven. Where's this guy going? Well, he's aiming for just the periphery of Death Squad's core base area, and Death Squad missing that T2 transport with his vast number of interceptors, but he should have seen this one, and Heaven just adjusting his drop there. And of course what Heaven didn't know, that Death Squad was stashing gunships at the back of his base, and those gunships will quickly take care of the drop from Heaven there, although they do take a T1 land factory with them. And we got more drops from Heaven now, this one being queued up to this expansion area just to the left of, the top left of Death Squad's core base. Again, it's too much of an area for the interceptors to reliably intercept these drops from Heaven, and yet again that drop making it through. And Heaven now just separating his T1 mobile light artillery units up now just to create maximum effect, going straight to work on the point defense and max points of that area. And we've got a gunship pushed now from Death Squad on Heaven's core base. T2 max goes down, T2 2 maxes go down, T2 2 2. And not much else being taken out there, as Heaven scrambling the response necessary to push it back. But two T2 maxes being taken out there by that gunship push, and if we look at the effect that that's had on the eco, mass per tick now for Death Squad 78 and a measly 31 for Heaven. So this game swinging one way and one way hard, and Heaven now with some TML up, not quite sure what he's targeting just yet. Well, we got T1 land factory and a point defense being taken out on the first salvo, and radar and hydrocarbon power plant on the second salvo. Death Squad just deciding to chill out with his ACU in the water, probably not wanting it to die stupidly, as I know he is accustomed to doing on 1v1s. And we've got more TML coming in now, just taking out this expansion area. 2 maxes down, and I'm assuming that those two approaching now will be going for maxes 3 and 4. Well, one of those mechs has gone down, the other one went for a T1 point defense position, and we have yet more drops here from Heaven, right on the edge of Death Squad's core area, and Heaven's really kind of ground the map control to a more neutral state now. He's done really well at taking out the expansion area bases of Death Squad, with the employing the use of drops and TML to pretty solid effect. Death Squad is managing to re-establish this area to the left hand side, but that won't stay up for too long, as Heaven moving in some T1 artillery units just to take care of that. But as well as Heaven has done getting these expansion areas down, Death Squad has done an excellent job at preventing Heaven from rebuilding his own expansion areas, and Death Squad now camping on the periphery of Heaven's core area. And actually, if we take a look here, there isn't a great deal of units here for Heaven to force this Mantis horde back, and if Death Squad would just scout that and see, he would shove those Mantis straight in, and here they come, going to work on the T1 artillery units, the only defense that this core area has. And of of course, once the Mantis get it within range, the artillery dying very quickly, and the Mantis now free to get to work on Heaven's core area. Heaven is throwing up some T1 point defense at a hasty pace. He does actually have one up already here, which is being missed by Death Squad. Heaven also bringing back a T2 gunship to try and deal with the encroachment on his core area now. And Death Squad is bringing in his horde of interceptors, half of which are pretty look like they're low on fuel now. And Death Squad realizing that actually he was too late there on air support, getting rid of the gunship and just pulling back his interceptors, and now protecting the push of T2 gunships. And Heaven trying to counter with a group of T1 Thistles, T1 anti-air. Heaven just managing to clear out the T1 units here, which were preventing Heaven from rebuilding this expansion area. And Engineer, I say Engineer because there's only one, moving up now, just reclaiming the mass fields to start with, but the gunships moving straight in and getting to work on the Engineer and the land factory in that area. So Death Squad now re-establishing map control. Heaven doing a really good job of grinding it back to a more neutral state, but Death Squad being persistent and managing to clear those attacks and rebuild. And if we look here now, this looks like a very dangerous forward position that Death Squad's got going here. Heaven continuing to employ the use of drops. But this core area of Heaven now starting to look like it's got a limited life expectancy left in it. Heaven not really doing a whole lot to fortify his core base. And Death Squad seemingly picking up on that, and that is definitely his primary objective right now in this game, is just to clear this back corner and leave his ACU isolated in this middle position here. And the drop here from Heaven at the top was successful. The T2 transport went down. Heaven's micro is clearly elsewhere, understandably so, it has to be said, as the drop unit's not currently doing anything. And there they go, and that's just stirred the Renegade into life, shooting the Aurora of Heaven. But this core area now under severe pressure from Death Squad. Heaven does have some T1 point defense up, but Death Squad now maneuvering units around the back of the base. That won't make a whole lot of difference, as Heaven also does have a point defense at the rear position. Excuse me there, I just had to go and sneeze. So, Heaven's core area now being pincered by T1 land units. We also have T3 land on the field from Death Squad in the form of loyalists. Where did those bad boys come from? This little sneaky T3 HQ being erected up here on the left hand side top corner. And this core area now, and by extension perhaps the game itself, swinging irreversibly in the favour of Death Squad. Heaven has no reply right now The drops have stopped. The TML also still being built but not being used right now. Heaven's TML launchers on 5 out of 6 charging their last round before they fell up. Heaven is power stalling by the looks of things. Not power stalling now. But his eco is about to take a massive hit as this core area starts to crumble. And Death Squad now shoving everything in, balls deep. And this area is for the scrap heap. It's going down quick. And Heaven now reduced just to this pocket of what was his first expansion area, but now represents his only base. And this T3 Max going down now, along with Heaven's T2 Air HQ. Painful, painful, painful. And that is pretty much that. The eco now. Look at that. Death Squad jumping up to 133 there momentarily, albeit, but looking like he's averaging out on the high 60s, low 70s. Heaven clinging on with 38 mass per tick income. Energy income right now, 2.2k from Death Squad, 620 for Heaven. Is he power stalling yet? Heaven does have power issues, not currently stalling, but just look at the negative income there, and there's the power stall, as you'd expect. As the Oblivion turret comes up, just about going power neutral, and now turning his attention to a T2 power generator, and Heaven's power issues quickly resolve that. Very nicely done. The power stalls he had did look inevitable, to be honest, but being dealt with very adaptly. And not Heaven, sorry, Death Squad now also with T3 air, T3 land, 2/3, 3/4 of the mass. Heaven just saying that if you had died, I would have asked you kindly to uninstall. I'm not actually sure what that was in reference to. I hope I haven't missed something which was crucial. Probably have, knowing me. And this last core area now looking like the Alamo. It looks like I've missed an attempt on Death Squad's ACU from TML, I'm guessing. Oh, it looks like I have Death Squad's ACU health very low. Oh, and there we saw it just there. Heaven had TML queued up for where Death's ACU was in the water, so apparently TML doing some damage to Death Squad under the water there, and I'm really sorry I missed that. I would have been very interested just to see how low Death Squad would have gone. Could you imagine if that had worked? Oh my god, that would have been such a better cast. But not to be. A Death's ACU now walking back to his base with his tail slightly between his legs, and we have some whalers moving up now with T2 gunships in accompaniment, and the gunships moving in on the final position of Heaven now, taking out the first shield. Straight onto Heaven's ACU. Heaven's ACU trying to walk and get onto the second shield, but not being able to, being blocked by his T1 engineers and his wall units there. Getting under his shields, but the shields not going to last long, and Heaven's comm lasts even less. Kaboom! was unauspicious ending there for Heaven. So Death Squad getting the win there, and let's go ahead and take a look at the stuff. Obviously, only one player of the match here is the winner. Taking a look at the categories, Death Squad with a clean sweep on the categories, although he did waste a little bit of mass. Tisk. Alright then guys, hope you enjoyed that. If you enjoyed that, please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and support the channel in any way that you see fit. You guys take care, have a great day. I shall catch you in the next one. Hello and welcome to another shenanigan-filled replay of fun. This one coming in on the map, Wonder Open, 5 versus 5. We'll call this team at the top Team 1, this team at the bottom Team 2. Starting off in the traditional air slot for Team 1, fashioning red, going Aeon, it's Dro. Dro weighing in at 1600 for this replay. And the left-hand flank position for Team 1, going teal and Cybran. It's F-Odin. F-Odin is 1500 currently. In the left center position, it's Mathew in purple, going Aeon. In the right center, we have KungFuPanda fashioning green, going as Cybran. Both Kung Fu and Mathew weighing in at 1200. And lastly, for Team 1, weighing in at a hugely overrated 1600 in a very uncustomary colour of sexy red, but as usual Cybran shenanigans, it's Death Squad. Yes! Okay, for Team 2, in the air slot, going beige. What a shit colour. Going as Aeon, it's K240. K240, one of several 1600 players. In the left-hand flank position for Team 2, we have Stockshock, fashioning blue, going as Aeon. Stockshock weighing in at 1400. In the left centre, we have CalebBaker, fashioning yellow, going as Cybran. In the right centre, we have Cabal, going white and UEF. Cabal at 1400. And lastly, for Team 1, one of the 1600 ranked players for this match, going Old Man Grey and Sexy Cybran, it's ThomasHiatt. Looking forward to this replay, as we have a very tasty selection of players on view. The lowest being Caleb, as I mentioned in the introduction, at a still respectable 1100. That's higher than me, so, you know, I mean, that doesn't really say much, I guess, but hey. So we'll speed things up just a little bit. We have obviously the early expansion. Everyone coincidentally opening first land for those that are interested. We have 2 raiding parties converging in the middle here from Kung Fu and Cabal, both just seeing each other and then retreating slightly to safer territories. And on the right hand side of the map, we have ThomasHiatt pushing up now, accompanying a scout with 4 Mantis. If we just pop into the view of ThomasHiatt, making a beeline for this back expansion area where he would expect to find some engineers. The scout indeed picking up a signature, and the Mantis moving in now, making a beeline for what looks like it has to be an engineer. And goodbye, engineer. So this raiding party from Thomas picking up what looks like at least 2 engineers and a mass extractor. And Death Squad now just maneuvering his units to intercept this raiding party and preventing it from doing any more damage. And on the left hand side now, F-Odin moving his own raiding party forward, taking out what was probably 2 mexes from Caleb, and now moving into the core area of his mirror's Stockshock, taking out some engineers which are in middle of constructing Stockshock's 7th land factory. Stockshock with a definite early numerical advantage on the left hand side for Team 2, and using it to cut straight across to the left and interrupt F-Odin's attempts to expand into this area. F-Odin now marching forward with his comm to try and even the firepower in that area. We have early gun upgrades from every man and his dog so far. Caleb halfway through his. Stockshock only recently having started his. Cabal pushing forward with some T1 tanks and his ACU. And on the right hand side, Death Squad marching his comm straight to the right hand flank, starting his gun upgrade, intentionally parking his ACU in the middle of this, what should be a contested area between these two players, staking an early and aggressive claim on this area. And Death now trying to get his own raiding party forward on the right hand flank, but Thomas seeing that and moving his units across quick enough to intercept and stop any real damage from occurring. F-Odin trying to employ the use of T1 bombers just to try and thin these numbers out a little bit. Mathew bringing in his units now to assist F-Odin. And having seen that for Team 2, CalebBaker starting to move his units across from centre to the left hand flank. And now the two comms of Mathew and Caleb starting to exchange some civilized right arm action. Mathew withdrawing in his units and Caleb following them up. Meanwhile, Stockshock just falling back ever so slightly just to amass some more T1 units in his pack. Death Squad now completing his gun speed upgrade and immediately starts to march towards spread out T1 units of Thomas just to pick up some easy kills. And on the left hand side for Team 2, Stockshock pushing forward, and already F-Odin looks like he's in trouble here as Stockshock fast approaching the core area of F-Odin. F-Odin only just having started his gun upgrade. Mathew trying to shoo off CalebBaker from joining the assault of Stockshock. Back on the right hand flank, things faring much more evenly between the two teams as Death Squad just maneuvers his comm around, just trying to pick off some easy cheap kills, trying to get that veterancy going. And already Death Squad 3/4 towards his first level of veterancy. His mirror coincidentally not even halfway yet, and Death Squad just keeping that swarm of Mantis behind his comm, but not too far behind. And now Death starting to move forward. Thomas is focusing on the ACU at Death Squad, but Death Squad is focusing on the units of ThomasHiatt. This is most definitely looks intentional, and the units of Thomas now starting to evaporate, and now the Mantis are moving in. Thomas needs to get some skates on here and haul ass because things starting to look dangerous for him. He's lost all but all of his units, and Death Squad now, his ACU turning his attentions to the ACU of Thomas, and Death Squad pushing in his Mantis to envelop the comm of Thomas. And in come the Mantis now and swarming the ACU to stop it from moving, and that is superbly executed by Death Squad, and Thomas in all sorts of trouble in under 10 minutes here, and he's going to go down. 8 minutes 29 seconds. What an execution from Death there. Literally execution, and executed very well, if you'll pardon the play on words. But over on the left hand flank, things looking much more in favour of Team 2 as Stockshock is relentlessly harassing F-Odin. And now the units of F-Odin and Mathew are teaming up to push down on this army of Stockshock to try and shoo it back. And Caleb moving his ACU across to the left to assist his teammate Stockshock, opening up on the comm of F-Odin, and F-Odin now dropping into the red. F-Odin having to march his comm backwards. F-Odin less than 1500 HP, and Mathew defensively walking across the line of fire, taking the fire off F-Odin there and driving the comm of Caleb back. Mathew's defensive play there most certainly prolonging the life of his teammate F-Odin. And KungFu now having to move his units from right center to left center to try and shore up this left flank. But really, that's only dealing with CalebBaker's arsenal. And on the far left, Stockshock continuing to march forward now, and it appears that it's not if this left-hand flank will fall, it's when. Stockshock can surely send those units in at any time now just to kill off this base of F-Odin's, and F-Odin's already withdrew his comm to a safer location. Back on the right hand side we have a push from Death Squad as Death and Cabal now go into this contested area of what used to be ThomasHiatt's base. Cabal will obviously want to get some double eco going, and Death will obviously want to stop him. Death employing the means of Mantis push down the right hand side, and Cabal using his ACU to move it across to the right and building a wall of T2 point defense as he goes. Back on the left, Stockshock continuing to what can only be described as a massacre now, as F-Odin's base is completely abandoned and Stockshock now just moving in. Oh, we have a T2 gunship snipe attempt on KungFuPanda here, sent from K240. Dro getting some swift winds and interceptors in, but K240 with his own air support outnumbering that of Dro, and KungFuPanda in immediate peril here, gonna go down, and things quickly evened up. KungFuPanda, the first casualty of Team 1. At 11 minutes 26 seconds. A very well executed T2 air snipe there from K240 on KungFu. He had the gunships to get the kill and the air support to kill that of Dro's air support. Meanwhile, Stockshock, ever relentless in his push on this left-hand flank. And now Caleb starting to join the efforts of Stockshock with a combined push on Mathew. And Mathew perhaps needs to start thinking about pulling back his ACU. To be honest, I'm not sure that Stockshock or CalebBaker need their ACU so far forward either. They are starting to look overextended, although saying that, Dro with nothing in forms of a snipe brewing. So the ACUs of Stockshock and Caleb safe, at least for now, to continue their rampage forward into deeper and deeper territory of Team 1. Mathew confronting the push from Caleb, but then Stockshock free to cut around the left flank into the core base of Mathew. And Mathew's production eco starting to be shredded. Mathew needs to haul his comm out of there now, and Caleb into the red, withdrawing his comm. He doesn't need it there now anyway, neither does Stockshock. They've got more than enough units to wipe out this position of Mathew. And there's a suspicious scouting party being sent forward by K240. K240, I was going to say he doesn't look like he has much, but he's sending forward 3 Spectres, T2 gunships, and the units of Caleb getting Mathew into the red, and now the gunships on Mathew's comm. Drew does have ASF, he needs to move them across quickly before Mathew goes down, but it's not going to be in time, and the second T2 gunship snipe of the match happens. It's the second kill for K240, it's the second teammate that Dro is allowed to die to T2 gunships, and Dro now moving his air forwards, but only encountering the mushroom of his teammate's explosion. Although I suppose he is now wiping out the interceptors and swift winds of his mirror, and Dro now having his own gunships on the comm of Stockshock. I said he was too far forward. There was next to, well, there is literally no anti-air in the unit mix of Stockshock. Stockshock now running for his life, and the air player for Team 2, K240, with absolutely nothing to support Stockshock. Stockshock walking his comm towards the position of Caleb. Caleb only just now starting to get some T1 anti-air up, but it's going up very slowly. And it doesn't look like Stockshock's going to survive this, and he needs to be careful because Caleb is also pretty low here, and his explosion is going to take off some hit points from Caleb. Not only that, but the direction of Stockshock's movement leading the gunships of Dro into the comm of Caleb, and Caleb immediately going down thereafter. Absolute catastrophe for Team 2. Dro managing to redeem himself. Some say he's the worst air player in GB. I say at least he's better than me. And this match taking a huge swing in momentum. Stockshock in particular must be kicking himself right now. He didn't need to have his comm so exposed. He had more than enough units. Just look at he completely steamrolled that left hand flank, and now all of his work, it's not been undone, but wow, just look at the vacancy we have on the left hand side and in the centre. F-Odin is alive, but having to rub 2 grains of rice together for eco. And Dro now starting to get some decent ASF production up, whilst his mirror also getting ASF production going. I would say Dro is very slightly ahead in that department for the time being. Cabal needs to start trying to expand here to the center, and he looks like he's doing absolutely diddly squat in that respect. And we're just going to speed things up here, as we certainly look like we've gone into a lull. And Cabal now having a push on the position of Death Squad, but Cabal only employing T2 with the majority of T1 units, and Death Squad with T3 land units on the field in the form of loyalists. This push from Cabal looking nothing more than a mass dump, and there we have confirmation of that from Death himself. Thanks for the mass, buddy. And if we just look at the efforts that Team 1 are putting into expansion versus the efforts of Team 2, Cabal doing absolutely nothing really. Cabal not even having T3 land at this point, and he's had double eco for, well, he's had double eco since minute 8. That's a good point. We have a good opportunity to take a look at the eco situation, and K240 currently comfortably on top with a mass income of 228 per tick. Dro in second with a mass income of 182 per tick. In third, it's Death Squad with 134. Cabal all the way down in fourth with 106, 115. Cabal really lagging on eco, lagging on everything really. Outnumbered in terms of tech and units, and outgunned certainly. And Team 1 continuing just to flood forward with engineers to expand, and now some T1 units being pushed to the front to try and start engaging on the left hand flank again. K240 moving over some restorers to deal with this. There are no anti-air units in the mix for Team 1 being pushed by Dro and F-Odin currently. So those pushes will not be successful. Cabal has absolutely nothing, but what little he does have, he is now having to spread clear across the map, as K240 seemingly uninterested in getting into the land game. Cabal just edging forward to try and kill some of the units. Engineers being sent forward by Team 1. Certainly not looking like he's interested in pushing the position of Death Squad. Death Squad firmly into T3 with bricks and loyalists up, and we also have a monkey marching towards mid from Death Squad now, and that, ladies and gentlemen, looking like it's going to be enough to win the game. Let's keep an eye on Cabal. Let's jump into what he sees for a little bit. I don't think he's seen this spider yet. I'd be very surprised if he has. Cabal and K240 clearly consumed with the efforts of just pushing back this cannon fodder being sent forward by Team 1. And if we just see there, Cabal, the spider flashing across his radar, and we see the familiar pattern of spider anti-air there. So if Cabal's paying attention, he should have seen that by now. So let's hop back into Observer. So minute 23, Cabal had the opportunity to realize what was happening, and the Monkey Lord now taking a predictable right turn and starting to head towards the core area of Cabal. Cabal moving his comm down. If he didn't see it before, he must have seen it then. A ping goes out from K240 over the Monkey Lord. I think they've seen this far too late. Cabal only just getting T3 land up in the form of Titans, but that will not nearly be enough to deal with this Monkey Lord. And Cabal apparently accepting his fate here, marching his comm towards the Monkey Lord. K240 moving his restorers across, but on the left hand side of the map there, Dro getting in behind the ASF of K240 and thinning the numbers out, and Dro now manoeuvring his own ASF, presumably to come and take out these restorers and ensure that this Monkey Lord has the opportunity to end this game. K240 just managing to get his ASF in behind that of Dro's, and Dro taking heavy losses there in that initial stage. Inevitable losses, it has to be said, because he needs to be more concerned with taking out those restorers right now. And Cabal's ACU eating the death laser of the spider and inevitably dying. And Cabal with a parting comment at his air player there. I'm not sure that's entirely fair when you don't die to air, you die to land, and you're the land player. But what do I know? I'm just a sloth. K240 does get a GC completed, but I'd be surprised if he sees this one out from this point. And there we have it. K240 gracefully making his exit stage left, and Team 1 with what looked like, in at least on the left hand side, a very unlikely win, but getting the win in the end. Excellent performance from Death Squad throughout that, very solid I thought. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stuff. So Dro with the 2 kills coming from the T3 gunship snipes. K240 cashing in on Dro's lackluster early mid-air game with his own T2 gunship snipes, and Death Squad with his early Mantis spanking of Thomas and his late Monkey Lord kill on Cabal, getting his 2 kills. Taking a look at the charts and the 4 categories, 2 of which going to Dro in the form of mass income and stuff built. K240 picking up highest energy production, and Stockshock taking most kills. Stockshock with a fantastic performance on the left flank, but just making the time-old error of overextending his comm, just pushing the envelope that little bit too far. And I feel that that mistake from Stockshock and Caleb in the overextension of their ACUs ultimately costing Team 2 the match. In terms of player of the match, I think we're going to go with Death Squad. I thought Dro did very well in the last half of the game, but the first half of the game almost cost his team the match, in my humble opinion. So Death Squad very solid throughout, giving his team an excellent early start by killing Thomas, and Death not doing anything risky. No such commando comm play from Death Squad. Very solid, yet aggressive and effective, and that's why he gets my vote for man of the match. Alright guys, thank you very much. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already considered subscribing, please do so. Help me out as much as you can. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next one.